Who out there has never bought or sold something on TradeMe? There's 1.5 million listings every week, 60 million auctions a year.
But in one very important way, as we'll explain, those millions of auctions are a bizarre legal black hole. TradeMe wants to fill that hole, but it's fought a serious fight with a very important chunk of its customers.
Yes, it's the agonising countdown to the auction close, but weirdly, losing that auction saves you from a strange sort of consumer twilight zone. Now, if I buy this dryer here in the shop, then of course I'm covered by our best-known bit of consumer legislation, the Consumer Guarantees Act. But if I buy exactly the same dryer from exactly the same shop for exactly the same price, but on a TradeMe auction, I'm on my own. No Consumer Guarantees Act. And it's only auctions, not the other ways of buying on TradeMe. Hit the Buy Now button, you're covered. The auction closes, no winner, you negotiate a price, you are covered. But win the auction, no Consumer Guarantees Act.
The key protections that you get under the Consumer Guarantees Act are that goods are of acceptable quality and fit for purpose. It only applies to traders, people selling for a business.
And, of course, the bigger the item traded, the more important it is you feel confident about your purchase, especially a car. Buy a car at a physical auction and you don't get consumer guarantees coverage. Currently, the law treats TradeMe auctions the same. But why on earth should your protection under the law depend on a click of the mouse? National MP Dr Jackie Blue wants to change the law so you are covered by the CGA if you buy in a TradeMe auction.
Well, one would expect that if you're buying something from a professional trader, that it would be covered, and it should be covered by the Consumer Guarantees Act. And an online auction shouldn't be no different.
She's been lucky enough to get a bill into Parliament, but car dealers like Mike Mappison say it will hurt consumers, not protect them. Mike paid $700 as a trade-in on this elderly starlet. He simply won't do that if he then has to offer a guarantee on cars like this.
It will make that particular car a worthless asset to its previous owner.
TradeMe's been pushing to get their auctions covered by the CGA for some years. They say it's a loophole for dodgy traders to dump shoddy goods with no comeback.
And a change in the law is now a real possibility. Dr Jackie Blue's bill is in the House and the Consumer Affairs Ministry has a big review underway.
But there's heavy-duty opposition from the car trade. As you saw, dealers say it'll cost you, not them, if they have to offer guarantee protection on the old dungers that they take as trade-ins. So, from the TVNZ atrium, we bring you the Fair Go debate.
Well, welcome to the Fair Go debate. The moot is, should the Consumer Guarantees Act be extended to cars sold by traders in TradeMe-style auctions? Well, Mike O'Donnell, known as Mod, is Head of Operations at TradeMe. Graeme Macdonald is an advocate for and commentator on the motor trade. Well, gentlemen, first of all, your opening statements. We tossed a coin. Mike O'Donnell, 30 seconds starting now.
Thank you, Jordan. TradeMe believes in the Consumer Guarantees Act and strongly supports protection for consumers when they're buying from traders, whether they be cars, sofas or Morris dancing sticks. Currently, there are 4 ways you can buy on TradeMe. 3 of them are covered by the Consumer Guarantees Act. 1 falls through a loophole. We think that loophole should be closed and consumers protected.
Graeme, your 30 seconds.
Well, I think the Consumer Guarantees Act, as it applies right now to TradeMe sales, is actually a fair mechanism. And for 99% of the transactions that occur, it works smoothly and consumers get a good deal. For the 1% of transactions that go wrong, the legislation is already in place. We have a law that simply should be enforced and policed so those people that are missing out on those particular transactions have their causes satisfied.
But Graeme, it's ridiculous, isn't it? You can sell a car on your yard and it's covered by the CGA. You sell exactly the same car for exactly the same price, but in a TradeMe auction, and you don't have to offer anything.
Well, OK, let's take an example. I trade a car for $3,000 off a member of the public as part of a transaction. I've got no way of knowing if that car's any good or not. I just take the vendor's word for it that his $3,000 car is as I see it there right now. I have to dispose of that vehicle the next day. It's part of the business transaction. Why should I suddenly be encumbered with CGA provisions on a $3,000 trade-in when I myself have accepted it from the vendor, the public vendor of that car, on an as-is, whereas basis?
With due respect, have a look at the wording of the Act. You are encouraged through Section 7 of the Act to talk about the nature of a car, to talk about any known defects. If you trade a 20-year-old Peugeot, heaven help you, and you say, hey, we're selling here a 20-year-old Peugeot with 200,000 Ks. I have no engine history. If you buy this, you're buying an older car with a high degree of Ks, and we wish you the best. That sort of description, under the current wording of the Act, would provide you with protection.
Mike, that just seems ludicrous to me, that you're going to end up all of your listing detailing all the defects that may or may not be apparent in that vehicle. I don't know, and if you purchase the vehicle, you won't know either. That's part of the risk process of a cheaper car.
Well, mate, I just used 100 words to describe it. You're a smart guy. I'm sure you could cut and paste those 100 words into each of your listings and you would be good.
And
So what you're
Graeme,
asking for is every single listing that goes on TradeMe, I'm going to put down, this vehicle has had it. The engine's probably shot, the gearbox has got a whine in it, I think the diff's about to go, the electrics don't work, it might have been underwater, I don't know. Buy at your own risk.
Graeme, your capacity for exaggeration is only matched by your good looks. You would be welcome to do it that way, but I think you're exaggerating for effect, and good on you. But the reality is, we don't want mutton dressed up as lamb and sold that way. If you say you're selling mutton, then good luck to you, and the buyer is informed, and then he is able or she is able to take the risk.
Well, this is what the Motor Trade Association, the MTA, is suggesting, a $5,000 ceiling. I mean, Graeme, what's your view on that?
Well, it's probably a workable sort of ceiling to have, because below $5,000 there's going to be defects in the car somewhere at some point down the track. Remembering, it's not about the condition of the car as you've sold it today. It's what happens 2, 3, 4 months down the track on a $2,000 sale. As the law stands right now, people are aware of the risk that they take when they purchase a vehicle online.
Hey, criteria aren't a bad idea, but not value. On the other hand, mileage or years, like the Australians have moved to, is actually a lot more simple, and everybody knows what they're getting. I mean, at the end of the day, I think you need clear, crisp, objective standards that are applied consistently online and offline.
Do I sense some middle ground here? Thank you very much for your time, both.
Thank you, Gordon.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Shake hands, gents.
Good on you.
Cheers, Mike.
And we'll have more from the Fair Go debate next week, when we'll look at the scourge of unregistered traders using TradeMe to shift cars.